Hi, it is I, Hannah Ruhama, the Kombucha Mama, drummer of randomness, lover of life, lover of the universe. So excited to have you here today. I'm really thrilled. Hi. I'm really thrilled to have my special guest today, Betty Mckeon. She is an astrologer. Hey, Duff, what up? And we are going to be talking about the Lionsgate portal, which is today, 8/8. It also has a numerological connection to it. And so we're going to talk about manifestation and astrology and how the stars impact our lives. They're definitely impacting our lives quite a bit. And they also impact our kombucha brews, believe it or not, because we are all nature. We all connected to the energies of the universe. And so I'm sure that this conversation we're going to have today with Betty is going to be very enlightening. And I think she's also going to share a little bit about my chart. And I cannot tell you enough how much I nail my chart. Like I am my chart. And so for those of you who aren't familiar, astrology is the first science. It is, you know, our ancestors looked up at the stars at night, the skies. We can see relics of their, of how important the stars were to them. We see that at Stonehenge. We see that in the pyramids. We see that in the way that these things line up at very specific times of year. And so as humans on this planet, potentially made of stardust ourselves, we can't help but feel in alignment with those energies. And they do impact how our kombucha brews can show up too. And so well, we probably won't talk a lot about kombucha today. We are going to talk a lot about how these energies can impact us. Wow. Hey, Kombucha Brigade. That's awesome news. Congrats. That's a lot of booch to brew. Well, you can always watch the recording later if you don't have time right now. And I'm so excited to have Pam here, and thank you so much. I really loved having Duff on the show as well. So Betty, whenever you're ready, just click that little button and we'll get you on here. So I see that you're here. So just go ahead and click the join button and we'll bring you on. But so for those of you who don't know, we'll talk a little bit about our signs. And so typically most people think of astrology as their sun sign because that is what has become very popular. I'm really heartened by sort of the new resurgence and excitement about astrology and learning more. And so my sun sign is Scorpio and my moon. So we have a sun, a rising, and a moon. And so Betty, just go ahead and click the little plus sign on the camera, and that way I can get you joining here with me. So I said I'm a Scorpio, and which I think is really apropos because fermentation is in a way all about death and transformation, as is Scorpio. Scorpio is about regeneration. It's the 8th house of death and taxes, if you will. And it's ruled by Mars and Pluto. So kind of depending on who you're going by. That said, Scorpio is also very much an investigator energy. It's something that's always looking underneath the surface. It's looking at the occult or what is hidden. And so it makes sense that my whole life I've been attracted to tarot cards, Ouija boards, astrology. My first deck of tarot cards I picked up when I was probably about 14 from a Barnes & Noble. Now, it was not a traditional deck, and I really wish I had kept it because it was fascinating. I've never found it again, but I have a very robust tarot practice. And again, so fermentation, astrology, these are all things that sort of naturally harmonize with Scorpio. Thanks, Duff, for helping out here. Betty and I had a practice run, so I was hoping this wouldn't be so challenging today. But yes, Betty, you just need to be on your phone. And as you recall, there's a little button at the bottom of the screen, and it's got a camera with a plus sign. And once you press on that, then I can bring you onto the show. So that's my sun sign. So the sun sign is sort of like how you present to the world. And so then we have our moon sign. So my moon is a Sagittarius moon, and that's fire It's optimism. It loves to travel. And I very much have a lot of that. I speak multiple languages. Spanish is my second language. Hablo español. Me encanta. Chinese would be my third language. And then I also speak some French, German, few phrases here and there in a couple other languages. But I really love language. I love to communicate. I love to travel. I love to meet people. I'm very extroverted and gregarious, and that Sagittarius fire, that optimism, that's something that really resonates with me. And so, like at the arrow, I'm out there in the world, putting myself out there in the world, showing up. Thank you, Duff. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's my moon sign, and I think Betty will help share a little bit more context here. And then my ascendant, so this is what's sort of on the horizon, this is what's rising at the time I'm born, is Cancer. So Cancer is very maternal, Kombucha mama, very home-based, very nurturing. Yay, here comes Betty. And so I have water, fire in my sign, in my chart. So I'm very emotional, very fluid, very flowing. I very much go with the flow. But unlike Pisces, I also have this sort of structure, these walls. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Hannah. I was trying to get you on my computer and there was a blank screen. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Thank you for asking. I was in a panic here. You know, I'm not that tech savvy, a little bit, but
all good. Yes. Well, I'm glad that you're here. You made it, and thankfully we had some support from Duff. So thanks so much. It's a family affair. Is this my chart?
Yes, that's your chart.
Beautiful.
I printed it out so that I could look at it.
Yes, and so I was just telling folks that my sun sign is Scorpio, my moon is Sagittarius, and my ascendant is Cancer. But since you are the expert here, why don't you break it down a little bit for folks? So, sun sign?
Okay. Sun sign, Scorpio, everybody, you know, one of the things I've heard for so many years is Scorpio is about sex, and it is, but Scorpio is also about having, it's really about passion, and it's about passion for life. And so and it's the healer of the zodiac. People don't realize that because it's energy, and it's powerful energy. So it can be used for almost anything. But I love Scorpions because they have this ability to transform. And one of the things that most people don't realize about astrology is that everyone has every single sign in their chart somewhere. Some might be stronger than the others. So when I hear people say, oh, I dislike Scorpios so much, I think, oh, it's sad because they're really projecting a dislike for that part of themselves. So for me, I love Scorpions. If it weren't for that, we'd never transform into butterflies. So it's fabulous.
It is. Well, and the butterfly is the Kombucha Camp logo. And so I think this energy of transformation has just inherently been part of who I am. And I really feel like fermentation is very much a scorpionic type of activity because we're killing, we're breaking things down and transforming them.
And that's Scorpio 100%. It's you'll see little scorpion children, and they're the ones that take their toys apart. And sometimes they know how to put them back together, and sometimes they don't. But there's a curiosity. So you see, there's a couple of signs, like one of the signs that asks why all the time. They really should be news reporters, is Sagittarius. And you have the moon there. So it's kind of interesting because it's the ability to ask questions. And it's the teacher as well. And people who have a strong Sagittarius energy tend to be really good with languages, for instance, because it rules foreign people, foreign cultures. That's you. That's you. How many languages do you speak?
Yeah, so Spanish, I have 2 degrees. One is in Spanish and the other's in Mandarin Chinese. And I also love French and speak a variety of phrases in other languages. So I love communicating with people. So you're not wrong. And I was a tutor So I would teach people language. So, and again, of course, I teach people how to brew kombucha. So it all sort of fits in.
Exactly. And the other thing about Sagittarians is that they're really, really intelligent people. But they also have this great love for nature and and for the environment. So they like to go hiking, and that's just across the board. I mean, there's other factors, obviously, but that's one of the things. And your moon is in Sag. So and you're a pure Sag with that. So this is how you nurture yourself. The moon is how we nurture ourselves. And the sun sign is where we go to get energy. So one of the interesting things that a lot of people don't realize is around age 50. Okay, so it's almost like the masculine principle is the sun sign. The feminine principle is the moon sign. And women are very identified in expressing their moon sign before age 50. And men are very adaptable to, expressing their sun sign. But then around 50, it switches. Mm-hmm. And the men start becoming more emotional, and the women a little less emotional. And so the identification switches. So you'll see people who are born on a new moon, they're the same because the sun and the moon are in the same position. Mm-hmm. And then you see people who were born on the full moon. Those are the people that flip completely. And you go, wow, they're nothing like they used to be. So I think I have some of the greatest clients in the world. These guys are so wonderful. And they're so receptive, which is, for me, astrology is about cycles. So I'm not a psychic. I don't want people thinking I'm a psychic because I'm not. But, I can give a weather report of probabilities. For instance, when someone is about to go through, perhaps they're thinking in their head, they're thinking about changing jobs or changing their career. That actually does show up in an astrological chart when you do a reading for them. So you can see, I can't tell you if you meet, the love of your life. There are possibilities, depending on how things are going. I had one client, this was really strange. I had this thing that I was doing called Party with the Stars, where I was holding, these parties at people's homes and doing little mini readings. And anyway, this woman came up. I looked at her chart and I went, oh, wow. I said, you've got some real big changes coming with love and money. And she goes, oh, she said, really? And she didn't say much more. And I said, yeah. And I said, about 3 months from now, you'll see. And then after I did this little, mini reading for her, she said, well, I just got married 3 months ago. And then I found out later, 3 months later, she divorced. So it was like, yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty quick. And that would be like what's called a Uranus transit. It speeds karma up. So we have all of the planets. We have Mercury, which represents our communications. And you'll see some people, they do not communicate the way they really are. You're one of those people.
That I communicate what I am, or I don't communicate?
You don't communicate the way you really are because there's a shy part of you. And you're able to hide that because of your ability to not be shy when you communicate. Oh, I told on you. Sorry. Oh, no.
It's true.
And then we have Venus, which represents love and money. And in a person's chart, when one changes, the other changes. And there are times where it might be time for a tune-up. Like you're starting to evaluate things. Those are usually working with a Saturn transit because it makes you evaluate. And interestingly enough, Saturn is what is called exalted in Libra. Well, Libra is the sign of the attorney. Mm-hmm. So the best placement for Saturn is in Libra because it gives you the balance to see both sides and to evaluate without emotion. And of course, it's always reaping what you sow as well. And that, where you put self-effort is where it comes home. So everyone has a place in their astrological chart where they're learning lessons. And that's where Saturn is in their chart. And you have it in your physical body and the way you look at things. So that's and it's also about how you begin things. But it gives you, because Saturn is also about taking care of other people. And so for you, it has to be fun. It's in Leo, so it has to be fun. And, but you were born with this feeling of, I want to take care of other people. And so you do it very well, unless you get off balance, of course. And Saturn a 7-year cycle will straighten you out and put you back on the road of balance. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's been fun for me. I started back in 1979, and I was selling real estate, and it was fun. And then my broker said, "Oh, I do this for, just for a hobby. Would you like me to do your chart?" I said, "Oh, sure." That's like in my 20s, kind of flaky, and so. But when she did the consultation with me, I was stunned because she knew things about me that I knew, only I knew. Mm-hmm. And I was very unnerved about it. But so I said to her, I said, I believe that this should be used for the good, to understand yourself and to unfold and become a greater person. And she said, "Oh, you must have done this in another life." She said, "But that's exactly what it's supposed to be used for." So for me, it's if it's not practical, I don't see the point in it. So if it can't help people, what's the point? It's just jargon, And
yeah, exactly. Well, and I think people right. We always have this sort of conflict. There's different philosophies out there. Do we have free will, or is everything fated, or is it a combination of both? And I really feel like astrology is sort of this map. And I believe, and of course, I'm not remember exactly what, but there's like the way in which astrology has been translated at times means results. And so it really is pointing to how things may turn out, but how that actually manifests in your specific situation is always going to be different. And for me, what I find is so helpful, like, for example, if Mercury's in retrograde, I'm aware that communications and different things are going to be more challenging. So rather than feeling, as emotionally attached or upset by those things, I can have that perspective and distance that allows me to have more grace when things aren't going the way that I want them to. And so I feel like astrology, rather than being so deterministic, is actually a way to sort of understand or contextualize the different things that are happening, and allows you to have just a little bit of a roadmap into what's coming next and what kind of energies you're going to be working with. And that can help inform what you're leaning into or what you're resisting. And so
Absolutely. You've got it right. I mean, truly, that's what it's all about. It's like, and by the way, Mercury is coming up retrograde, just to let you know. So here's my advice to my clients. We start seeing previews of coming attractions with Mercury retrograde. And for the people out there that have a Mercury retrograde, it's great for you. It's the first time people can hear you. So, because the retrograde person in their natal chart has this ability to see problems that other people are not seeing. And when they go to speak it, people think, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying." But when Mercury retrogrades, that same person can say the same sentence and everybody goes, "Brilliant, brilliant." And they get it. But Mercury, so on August 21st, we start seeing the previews of what's coming up, any decisions that are made, any kind of work on your car, all of those things will have to be revisited on September the 9th through October the 2nd. And this is the other thing about changes with the fluctuations with the energy and the retrograde motion is actually Mercury is slowing down in relationship to the Earth. So it's that apparent motion of going backwards. And so all of the planets do that at some time, except for the moon and the sun. And so when those times come, a few days before it happens, you can see the reflection of that in the stock market. And you can see the tension starting. I invite people sometimes during a Mercury retrograde, watch the sides of the road and see how many people are broken down. They break down during that time. But it is a period of time that you want to reassess things that you have already made decisions of. And it's really a hell place for real estate agents, because those poor guys, I know I was one, they take an application and then there's something that's hidden that comes up, and it has to be addressed. So it's also great for studying. It's great for a trial and error, and discovering things that have been blocking, or so that you can fix it. So one of the things that happens is on the 9th of September is when Mercury will retrograde, and it stays that way until the morning of October the 2nd. And then it switches, and everything, the problems get kind of ironed out by then. And then we have this is the correction that we'll all see with the stock market. And by the way, when these changes happen, the stock market does get affected a few days all the way up to the time that they're changing direction. Mm-hmm. And so on October the 8th, we'll be having a correction then. So we have about 6 days between the time that Mercury goes direct and Pluto will go direct as well. And it does show up in the stock market. So just watch that. Sometimes people get very freaked out. I figure there's a lot of money in the stock market, so there's not a lot of people that's going to let it happen.
Well, and you know, what's so interesting even about the stock market is just how emotional it is. Like, it's not a logical place at all. And so it really, and over time, the sort of patterns and frequencies that occur, you're like, these are the things that occur in nature naturally. It's just wild. But of course, we are all natural beings. We're all tied to the cycles of the planet, and our behaviors, even though they may seem like individual choices in the moment, at times can't help but be influenced by sort of the group dynamic of what's happening when these energies are exerted.
And you would be very much attuned with that, because Cancer is the energy that is attuned to the groups. And so when you walk into a room, because you have your ascendant is your rising sign, it's how you begin things, and it's in Cancer, your little feelers are going out, and you're you're just like looking around, and you've already assessed what is the energy like here. So that the signs that are water signs, they feel things. So we have Pisces, Scorpio, and we have Cancer. So you have 2 out of what is called the lights. The lights are the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. And those are the most powerful points in the chart. And 2 out of 3 are in a water signs for you. So you're very intuitive. It can feel a lot of emotion with it. The fire signs, like you have your moon in Sag, right? And Aries and Leo. And so we have those are in the fire signs. And the fire people, they see visions. And they're the ones who, they're considered the ones to inspire people. They're inspiration itself. And so, and you see that. And this is another interesting thing, because you have the earth signs, which is Taurus, Capricorn, and what's that other one? Oh, Taurus, Capricorn, and Taurus and Capricorn and Virgo.
Right,
and
I was going to say Virgo, right?
Virgo. And Virgo, all of them are grounded. And so they want to see things in a practical way. By the way, often heard this, and I've seen this actually. When you put a Taurus and a Capricorn together, they are great money makers. They seem to understand each other about money. And then you have the air signs, which Gemini, Libra, and you have Aquarius. And those guys are logical. So how it works is you have your earth signs and your water signs hang on a little bit tighter. And it's harder for them to let go. If somebody breaks up with them, they long for them in a much longer time. Then you have with the air and the fire signs, they can go, oh, I've grieved for about a week. It's time for me to move on. I'm done.
What you think about air is so thin, right? Ether. It has this ability to be very volatile and move quickly. Whereas water is something, right? We can feel how it shifts the pressure and tension against our bodies when we're in water.
Absolutely. And you can see it, and they all have their place within us. We're not separate from nature. We're part of nature, and we respond to the weather easily. When it's raining, we all want to sleep. And
right.
And I have to say, for the Cancer people, watch your money on the full moon. And if you're married to a Cancer, they want to spend money on the full moon. It's almost like they cannot help themselves. But each of the signs have a virtue attached to it. And it's really about looking at the highest part of yourself, the most wonderful part of yourself. We all have our flaws. Somebody asked me the other day, what if you put two Sagittarians together? I said, well, what happens is they reinforce the great qualities of Sag, but they also can reinforce the qualities that's not so great because they like it. So that's one of the things. And I think that people are in each other's lives to help each other to grow as human beings. I think the most evolved we can be is to recognize that divinity within ourselves. And hopefully astrology is one of those tools that can achieve that for people. It's not about disliking your qualities. It's about how can you use them in the most evolved way. So I use this example in my readings all the time. What if Jack the Ripper were your grandfather? You might end up being a great surgeon, for instance, if you've inherited that quality. So it's a much more evolved way to use that same quality. Can't really change them so much as you can evolve with them. And so yeah, it's great. I love Aquarians. I have a daughter who has Aquarius rising and one who is an Aquarian. And we all, like I said, we all have this somewhere. It's where we don't fit anywhere. We don't fit with conservative people, and we don't fit with the radicals either. But it's a combination of being both. And so the Aquarians of the world have the potential. It's always potential. They have the potential of fitting everywhere. And not feeling like the odd man out, because it's not about feeling odd. It's about feeling unique and seeing that uniqueness. And so it's really, astrology is about loving who you are. And that's definitely shows up with Taurus energy, which I'm a Taurus. But Taurus energy, and where we have that is where we have to acknowledge our talents. We have to, but most of all, appreciate and feel gratitude for who we are. And whatever qualities, just as an example on your chart, you have your Taurus energy is in the area of groups of people and society. And so here's where, your platform right here is about feeling gratitude for that and loving it. And that's where you have the ability to express that love that you feel. I always feel like love, when it can't express itself, can turn to hate. It's really blocked love is what it is. And so it's hopefully astrology is the key to unlock that and to come to this place where there's no more self-criticism. Virgos have to be really careful of that. They have this an immense ability to, because they see detail everywhere. They have this ability to feel, to be critical. And I know why people do that. We all know why. You think it's going to make you better.
Right.
But it doesn't. It's like being in a boxing ring and you've knocked yourself out. So it's about good feedback. You see, that's a more evolved way to look at it.
Well, and I think that especially because life is challenging, the world is challenging, we're going through lots of transformation at a societal level. We've seen how social media and having a computer in our pocket at all times has completely changed how we interact. Then you add on to it sort of these cyclical, right? Even the pandemic is something that we could see in the astrology that was coming. Wars and different conflicts that are sort of brewing, again, very cyclical. We've seen these play out before. And as I always remind people, like, we're the people who survived, right? We're the descendants of people who have lived through challenging times, which means we have within us the ability to yet again navigate new, different, challenging times, which are kind of the same as the old ones, but different in how they manifest. And so using astrology as sort of this roadmap, this way to understand what's coming and to figure out how you can put yourself in a position, like you're saying, to be at that exalted level of who you want to be in alignment with that higher self and that higher purpose, so that as we're going through this massive, rebirth and transformation, that we can still find our way through all of that and hopefully yield a better outcome by gravitating towards those higher self principles.
I agree with you. I know people have asked me about COVID. When is it going to end? And it's an interesting thing because Pluto represents ancestral karma. It represents what's hidden, and it surfaces up. The sniper is all Scorpio, but it's also the healer, and so it surfaces things up. And I remember when it started, there was that conjunction that everybody was, so up in the air about, and that so excited about, but it was the unleashing of COVID. And so what at least my interpretation of what's coming regarding COVID is that we have it to the end of the year, and then between February and April, it's going to look like it's gone, but it's not. It does come back, and it won't be gone, I don't believe, until the end of 2024, and then it's done.
And these things just have to work themselves out, right? These are cycles. They're cycles of transformation. They also are an opportunity to highlight where things aren't working, right?
Absolutely.
We can look at who's suffering the most from this, and we can see sort of the factors that have led up to where we are. And a lot of it is ultra processed foods. It's too many chemicals being dumped in our water supply. We are being poisoned. This is why I think kombucha is ascending in this moment, is because she's here to help us detoxify and to get back to a healthier place. And
absolutely,
it's things have to change. We cannot continue to trust that processed food companies have our best interest in mind. They have their best interest in mind. They have their own profit margin in mind, and rethinking how we nourish ourselves, and having a garden, having chickens, taking back some of that control into your own hands, I think, is a way that a lot of us can feel, okay, I'm doing something that's good for me. It's good for the planet. But here's the thing, because it's easy to get overwhelmed, I think, by the enormity of everything, or how do I change this entire scenario? That's not really the point. The point is that we manage a change and control that which is right within our own self, our own bodies. And so when we are able to radiate peace, when we are able to bring beauty into the world, when we are bringing positive energy and change, as opposed to, doom, gloom, and scary, blah, 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 that's how we create the change on this planet. And so
Absolutely. It reminds me of a story about John Denver, that his last concert, he had donated all the money to the environment, and his speech was so moving because he said, "This is my platform where I can do something because of my career." He said, "But you can do whatever your platform is. Use it to better the world." And I never forgot that. I thought, what a beautiful way. And I think it's really important for all of us to ask, how can we, in our own life, how can we just contribute a little bit? We don't have to, what was it Mother Teresa said? That we don't have to do great things. We have to do small things in a great way. And I do believe that. I believe that we all have that capability. Everyone has a talent. Everyone has a genius in them. And some may be stronger than others, but every single person, at least the way I read a chart, has some genius area that they're uniquely different from everybody else. And I love that about astrology. I've never seen, not even twins, have I ever seen two people alike. And by the way, as I was coming home from my physical therapy today, I heard where the Senate passed the bill for the environment, and it was going to the House, and they do expect it to pass and be on the president's desk by Friday or maybe next week. So that was very encouraging for me to hear that.
That's great. And today is Lionsgate. It's the 8/8. It's a portal. So let's talk a little bit about what that means.
So it's kind of an interesting little thing. It comes from back in the time of the Egyptians. Orion or Osiris is the only it's the only constellation that for almost 75% of the year is in both, the belt is of it is in both the northern and southern hemisphere, that you can see it from both. And so it's almost like, for me, I look at it like it's pivoting. It's like a pivotal thing. And the interesting thing about his Orion's belt is that the pyramids of Giza are lined up exactly because there's two right in the same alignment, and then there's one 20 degrees off to the right, and that's how his belt is. And so the Lion's Gate, getting back to that, the Lion's Gate is when the sun has reached a pivotal point where the dog's Sirius, the constellation of Sirius, you're able to see it. It comes out from behind Orion, and now you can see it, or behind the sun, and now you can see it. And it represents a time where it's great for abundance and prosperity, but it's also great for healing. So it's an opportunity to take this portal that's opened and utilize it. The other thing that is, I thought, well, I'm going to run a chart for midnight on the 8th, which I did. And there's a degree. The sun was at 15 degrees Leo, and that degree is called Lord of Karma. And so it's a turning point in people's lives when you have 15 degrees. And but particularly in Leo, it's a turning point. And I feel like, the results of what's happening today, there is something that's turning, and we're seeing an opportunity, at least, to begin to love people more, and to love ourselves first. And to Sagittarians, sorry, you have to stop judging yourself. Because, a great friend of mine said, you don't have to judge to know what needs to change. And it's a bit of wisdom that really says to assess and see what's going to be beneficial in the long run. And that is a much more evolved way of expressing that Sagittarian energy, because it's the teacher anyway. It's great. but there's a tendency, and they make great judges. Because the word judgment, by the way, I'm buff on. I love, love, love etymology because I feel like the intent of the word, that's that Virgo part of me. The intent of the word never changes, even though we use it differently. So the word judgment means truth. Doesn't mean good or bad. And the word sophisticate, just to show you, means the act of being unnatural. That was the beginning, and we don't use it in that context, but you can still see that that intention is still there.
Interesting.
Right.
I love words too. I'm a total word nerd, so I love to look up etymologies as well.
Right, etymology is the best. And your that's part of in your chart. It's part of what you do teach about. You can teach about it, but where you get your energy is in playing and having fun. And if you're depleted, all you have to do is play and have fun, and you're right back.
Love it. I do love to play and have fun.
You
well,
do.
Speaking of playing, you also play an instrument.
I do.
The Tambora, which is, tell us a little bit about what that is.
Okay, so let me get it so I can kind of hold it up. I don't know how well you can hear it, but it's a droning instrument, and it was a very ancient instrument from India, and so I have some CDs out. These are it's just a droning sound. I don't know if you can hear that very well.
I can. Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's a beautiful instrument, and so I have CDs out. It's called Keys to the Heart Meditation, and they were in different keys from, C, D, E, F, G, and A, and B. And they have a different effect on the body through sound healing. But the way we did this was we did it so that people could relax on their lunch hour. And you don't have to, you don't have to know how to meditate, because the way we composed it, every 10 minutes it slows down. And so if you slow that droning sound down, it slows the heart rate down and it slows the mind down, and you'll drift into a meditative state. It's called Keys to the Heart Meditation, and Amazon carries them, and my website carries it.
So I was just going to say, how do people find you? So let's say they want a reading. Let's say they want to hear your keys to the heart. I found some of them on Spotify, so I know they're there. They are on
Spotify. That you can find it on Spotify. I like the one that's love. It's an F. It's the same frequency as a very soft rain, and when you play it very low. You don't, because it'll irritate otherwise, but you play it very low, and you should. It's great for going to sleep by. And it's great for kids. The children love it. When my grandson was little, my son asked him. He says, "What do you think of Grammy's music?" He said, "It makes me sleepy." And they would. That you just have to have it in the background. You don't have to force them to go to sleep or anything. Just quietly read them a story and they'll go to sleep.
Looks like someone's asking the frequency. Is it a 528? What's the
that's a whole nother session with you.
So let's say I want to book a session with you. What is your website?
Okay.
How do we find you?
It is BettyMcKeon.net. It's not hard. And not at all. And you can just email me there, and I will respond. I promise. So
yes. And then your handle here on Instagram, though, what is that? Queen Age
Astrologer. I was hearing like people going, "I'm a teenage astrologer," and I thought, well, I'm a Queen Age astrologer. So that was that.
That's really great.
Anyway, thank you so much. It's been so great. And by the way, you look beautiful today. You look just lovely. Yep.
Yes. Well, and I think we're going to offer a 30-minute consultation that someone can win. So stay tuned for those details. And we really appreciate your generous gifts of sharing and just love everything you've shared with us today.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. I hope to hear from you again.
Yes, you will.
See ya.
All right. Thank you, Betty. Take good care.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this preview here on YouTube. If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, along with other useful resources such as show notes, links, and special offers, we'd love to extend an invitation for you to join our Kombucha Camp Plus Bubbles with Benefits Member Rewards Program. By becoming a member, you'll earn bubbles with every Kombucha Camp purchase for free products, and that's not all. We also offer birthday Booch Day rewards, access to members-only sales, high-quality bonus content, including Kombucha Clutch Hangs with me, the Kombucha Mama, and my special guests, a free digital brew journal to track your master brews and experiments, and more. Now here's the best part. It is only $7.99 a month. For $79.99 for the year, you get 2 months free with the annual membership. You can learn more and join our Bubbles with Benefits program at kombuchacamp.com/kombuchacamp+.html. Don't forget, that's camp with a K, because we're cute and clever over here. And don't forget, trust your gut.